Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a very special edition of Zebu Nation Plays, the FM Scout Academy Challenge. That's what we're playing here. This is the off-season special for Season 2. We haven't gotten into any games yet. We're still full swing of the off-season. Check our schedule here. This is last season's schedule, obviously, but on the calendar we got pretty much nothing. We're not even up to our friendlies yet. But this is a very important time in any club because the off season, everyone's a champion. All of the administrators, the coaches, they get a renewed sense. The new season's coming up. They get to stand on the podium with their new signees, their new intakes, and say, these are the guys that are going to take us to the next level. So let's take a look at our guys that are going to take us to the next level. And first of all, we'll take a look at our junior team because this is the Academy Challenge after all. I'm not going to delve too deeply into these guys just because I don't want this to be too long of an episode. But if you look at this Academy, it's looking a lot better than it did last season. Last season it was a bunch of scrubs and then 3 or 4 decent guys. But here we got a pretty decent haul, a pretty good haul actually of young players. And the players I really want to look at are these 4, I guess 5 right here. David Lopez is a 3.5-star goalkeeper is pretty good. 12 aerial reach, 12 command, 12 agility, 11 reflexes. And he's only 16 years old. All of these guys are 16 years old, so that's very important for a couple of reasons. Number one is I don't need to bring them up to the main team right away. I can let them sit here for at least a year, wait till they get to be 17 until I bring them up to the main club. So I can let them sit here maybe even until they're 18 because they don't get kicked off of the juniors team until they're 18. At this point, I can let them sit there until they're 18 and then see if I can get them to grow after that. Then we got a right defender, Eric Apai. Decent pace. Got to work on his strength. Jumping reach, not good. That could keep him out of my plans in terms of bringing him up and having him a guy that I want on the team. So I like my fullbacks to have jumping reach so they don't get out jumped in the back line. It's a problem that has happened to me in the past, so I don't know. We're gonna have to work on that for this guy. Got decent crossing, decent technical skills, so he's okay. Then we got Michael Quintanilla, 16 years old again. He's a central midfielder, and this is good. We got a nice crop of central midfielders here. We got 3 of them to choose from. So he's got decent physical skills. His strength and pace are not great, but those could improve. His real attributes here, free kicking of 12, that's good. Decisions of 14. It looks like his mental abilities are this guy's strength. Then we got Ron Searle, another central midfielder, a deep lying playmaker. He's got excellent pace, really good physical skills. 14 jumping. He's 6'2". He needs to work on his strength, but that's good. Vision, decision making, passing, first touch. I think this guy is going to be the cream of the crop here. And then we got Mark Thompson, another central midfielder, a support player. Again, good physicals, not the greatest, but decent. He's got fitness anyway. Good mental abilities, decision-making, teamwork, determination, vision, and then very good technical skills for a 16-year-old. Free kick, marking, passing, technique, all double digits. So, very good intake of juniors, of academy players. We're going to see these guys throughout the season, but for now, that's just a brief overview. Take a look at our team as it stands at the moment. Gotten rid of all the players who aren't Dallas FC players. So there's only one of those left on the club, and that is Fabian Castillo, and he's here because he's worth a lot of money, and I'm just waiting for the right sale for this guy. Hopefully we can get $3 or $4 million for this guy, and and just help the club out that way. Even though I'm not going to need it for transfers, I'm going to need that money for improving the club. And speaking of that, the board has decided to improve the training facilities. I convinced them to improve the training facilities, but that's going to cost us about $6 million, and that's a lot of money for our team. So that's 2/3 of our budget is of our, not just our budget, 2/3 of our savings. We only had 9 million savings, so it's going to take a lot of money to do that, and then eventually I'm going to want them to also improve the youth academy for probably a similar amount. So getting a good tidy profit for him will help in that regard. But if you look at our team, they have definitely improved in the off season. A lot of these guys got a lot of experience last season. Jesse Gonzalez, our goalkeeper, is up to 3.5 stars. Acosta 4, Hedges 4.5, almost a 5-star player. Zimmerman 4. So everybody has gone up a half a star. I don't know if that's just the glow of the off season or what, but it is definitely, everybody's improved. Van de Castile, one of our youngsters, 3.5 stars. A player to focus on here, Moises Hernandez, wingback, left defender. He's a guy who was out on loan last season. I couldn't recall him. And if you look at his history, it doesn't say that he started at our academy, but he started 2011 FC Dallas. So I looked him up on the internet, and his Wikipedia page and his biography on the FC Dallas website, they both say that he was they don't call him an academy player, but they call him a homegrown player. They say he started his career at FC Dallas. So I'm thinking he counts. He's the closest thing we're going to get to an academy player, I think, before 2011. I don't know that their academy even existed before then. So we're going to keep him around. Moved him to left back, and we'll see the ramifications of that later. But Ulloa, Pamukale, Velasquez he's been hovering between 2 and 2.5 stars. I don't know what his deal is, but we'll see about that. Akindele, look at that. He took a huge jump. He's up to 3.5 stars. Lish, of course, 1.5 stars. And then we've got pretty much a full team of reserves as well. The only places we're missing is a reserve defensive midfielder, reserve central midfielder. Our backup defensive crew isn't that great. Guillen is pretty good, 3.5 stars. They don't have a lot of potential though, especially Brody. He's only a 1-star guy with 2-star potential. So I think we've got some holes there. We got some holes at backup goalkeeper. Not too excited about either Donatelli or Herman or Payne for that matter. I don't know. I guess I called Payne up from the academy, but I don't remember him. But his command and communication is low. There's just a lot of things not great about Payne. I know why I signed him, because he was going to turn 18 shortly. So I signed him up. So we got a lot of backup goalkeepers, but not a lot of quality goalkeepers. Backup advanced midfielder, not the greatest player in the world. Leva, wouldn't mind seeing him get replaced. Of course, strikers, we need more strikers, although Kraft, he's up to 2.5 stars with 4-star potential, so he should probably be a starter over Lich, but Lich has moved up to 3.5-star potential as well. So, I don't know. We'll keep him there. Bonner, of course. So our reserves are where we could use some depth. And a lot of those guys are young, so we can loan them out. But speaking of depth, something I wanted to show you, and we'll get into this, I guess, right now, which is the MLS Super Draft. I know I've shown this a couple of seasons ago in some of my older videos, but I don't know that anybody has seen that. So let's take a look at the MLS Super Draft. If you've never seen it, this is the rookie intake for the MLS. It's college players coming in. Now, earlier in the season, a couple of months ago, you'll get an email. You get 2 emails, actually. One email for the Generation Adidas players and one email for the Super Draft players. You need those two. Those are very important emails. 2 very important emails, because what they allowed you to do is they allow you to scout those 2 groups of players. So at the bottom of each of those emails, there'll be a button that says Scout Players. You need to do that. You need to get that email. You need to click on that button, because otherwise it's very difficult to scout these players. So the reason those are important is the Super Draft players, there's about 150 of them usually, and they're split up into teams, and the best ones are sent to what's called a combine. I don't know if they have combines over in Europe other than the kind of combines that like thresh wheat and stuff. But a draft combine is basically they bring the best players in so that all of the teams can get a look at them firsthand, and they play some matches against each other, and they lift weights and they do drills, and whatever the scouts want them to do. They have interviews with the various executives, so you can interview these guys and see, do they fit with your team, personality wise, things like that. It's a huge deal. It's a much bigger deal in the NFL than anywhere else, but the MLS has some of that DNA in them as well. So they've got a combine, and you can send your scouts this combine, and it's very important you do that, because that's where you get a look at the best players. And usually the best players are Generation Adidas players, because this is, the Adidas shoe company is huge in soccer, of course, and they pinpoint these special players. These are from around the country, these promising youngsters, give them little interesting, I guess, contracts, I think. At least they keep their eye on them, and they send them to certain camps, and it's a way to recognize that these are the best young players in the nation. And so they also come with a special contract status when they get drafted into the MLS, which is any player picked up will be awarded an automatic contract by your team. I think you pay them $120,000. It's higher than most draft picks, but that contract doesn't count against your salary cap. It doesn't count as a spot on your roster even. So if you're not going to play these guys, these Generation Adidas guys, you can just leave them unregistered off your team, and they'll stay on your team, but they won't count toward a roster spot. So just some interesting special stuff. If you want to pick up a Generation Adidas player, they're usually worth it. All right, so now we got all that backstory out of the way. Let's go to the Super Draft here, and let's take a look. This is the draft screen that you look at. Right here is where you can customize your view. I usually like to do the main scout details, because that gives you the stars and the position and the age. Age is very important. So if you look at the age here, there's one single 18-year-old, Nick Moore. He's not very good, and he's kind of injured at the moment, but he's a Generation Adidas player, so he might be worth picking up. But everybody else in this draft, because they're coming from college, they're older. So they're mostly 21 to 24-year-olds. Now, basically, you want to avoid drafting the 23 and 24 years olds, because they're not going to get much better than what you see here. You want to draft the youngest, best players possible. So a player like Francis Washington here, he's very appealing player, because he's 20 years old, one of the youngest players in the draft. He's a Generation Adidas player, and he's got good potential, good ability. So in my opinion, he might be the best player in the draft. He's one of the best players in the draft, if not the best player. But the other thing you can look at is, of course, potential, but this is based on your scouts. So you have some players here with high potential, but there's one thing to remember, is that when they look at this potential, they count the dark stars. So you might want to scroll down a little bit and look. We've got a cluster of 3 players here who are 4.5 star players. These are really the 3 best players in the draft: Johnson, Rodriguez, and Cole. let's see. Rodriguez and Johnson are both Generation Adidas players, so that's helpful knowledge because that's just another reinforcement that these are going to be good players. And in fact, Johnson is one of the highest rated players right now, not just on potential. If you look at 3 stars is usually the highest you're going to get in terms of right now potential. So you've got a lot of factors to think about in this draft. And the other thing you've got to think about is your draft position. Where are you at? And there's a handy dandy list up at the top here with your logos. So we've got, as you can see, the brand new expansion teams, Minnesota and Atlanta United, they've got the first 2 picks in the draft. But then they're followed by yours truly, FC Dallas, the number 3 and number 4 picks. So we're going to pick up 2 good players. And I've got a little notepad here with my list of players that I need. You know, we looked at the screen before, or looked at the roster before and saw that I need a defensive midfielder backup. I need central midfielders, but none of those players are the top players in the draft. So when it comes to strategizing for the draft, if you're not used to participating in these kind of drafts with your sports, it can be a little confusing on who to draft and why to draft them. So at this stage, in the first round, there are, how many rounds are there? There are 4 rounds in the super draft. So in the first round, at the top of the draft, you don't want to pick for need necessarily. You want to pick the best available player because that's the player with the most talent, it's the player with the most potential, and the player with the most value. And that's what you're trying to get. You're trying to get value out of your draft picks. So I've made a lot of trades, a lot of moves. I've traded away value to get these picks. Now for Minnesota and Atlanta United, they're playing with house money. They got these draft picks for free. They didn't have to lose a bunch of games to get these picks, like the Houston Dynamo had to do. They had to come in, one of the last place teams in the league to get this 5th pick. Now for me, to get the number 3 and the number 4 pick, I had to trade away a bunch of good players. But since I'm doing the Academy Challenge, I was kind of forced to do that anyway, so I might as well have gotten the best value out of those picks that I could. And it looks like I did that. Now it's time to cash in on that value and pick top quality players. So let's start the draft. You can either see the next pick or skip to your next pick. And over here on the right, you can see a summary. When a player is picked, they'll put them in here. Draft information. Here are my draft picks. I have a whopping, how many picks do I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 9 picks. I thought I only had 8. But apparently I picked up a 9th pick. So I have, from the 3rd pick on to the 44th pick, I have 9 of the top 44 picks. That's a lot. I don't really need that many picks. So there's something else you can do, which is trade for picks. So I'm going to see if I can make an offer for the number 1 pick. See what they would want for it. So MLS Super Draft, 1st round pick from Minnesota. Let's see, draft allocations. Let's see if they'll take 3 picks for their 1st round. I'm not going to trade away all my 1st round picks, obviously. I'm going to trade away these 2nd round picks. 2nd round. Yeah, I'll trade away I doubt they'd go after my last 3 picks. I might have to throw in a 1st round pick just to sweeten the deal here. No, I'll see what happens. I'll test the AI. This is an AI test. Will they take 3 2nd round picks? And I got lots of money. Money's no object for me, at least in terms of allocation funds. So let's see if they'll take 3 2nd round picks and $150,000. Suggest terms. No, rejected. All right. So if you want to try to do this, if you got extra players you want to get rid of, maybe you could trade them away and do this kind of thing. But if you don't do it before the draft, you have to do it immediately this way, and it's not really, you get one shot at it. Because it won't let me suggest. I don't think it'll let me change this. Yeah, it won't let me suggest again. So you can only do it once. You get one shot, so you got to make your best offer up front. All right, so that's not going to happen. So let's just see let's see who Minnesota picks. Check the summary here. First round pick, they selected James Ramirez, striker, Generation Adidas, 22 years old. He's a good player. Definitely a good player. Was he on my list? He was on my list, but he wasn't in my top list of players. So again, he's 22 years old. He is one of the highest rated players, 3 stars, 3.5 star potential. And as I mentioned, Generation Adidas player. So it's a good pick. It's a good pick. I haven't scouted this guy fully, but let's move on. Let's try not to have this take a million years. The second pick overall, Kyle Morris. This was a guy who was on my list. He was high on my list. The best goalkeeper in the draft by far, Kyle Morris. Another Generation Adidas player, another 3-star player, 4-star potential. Kyle Morris. Very good goalkeeper. He's going to help them out a lot. All right. So now we get 2 picks in a row. We still have a lot of our players available. Washington, which I mentioned, the striker was only 20 years old. Cole and Rodriguez are the guys that I was looking at. They're on my list. And Johnson as well. So let's take a look at Johnson. He's 22 years old, central defender. He can also play right defense. Pretty good player. Generation Adidas. Cole is a right back. He's pretty good too. But again, 22 years old, 16 pace. I don't really need... See, right back isn't a position of need for me. So at this point, even picking him, there's other factors involved. So I think what I'm going to go with, is I'm going to go with the striker, Washington. Although I have back-to-back picks here, so it's not that important for me. But I think, age. I'm going to go with Francis Washington, the striker, Generation Adidas player, 15 finishing, 6'6", 14 strength, 12 pace, 16 jumping reach. This guy is a monster. He is a beast. At 20 years old, we're taking him. We're drafting him. He is, in my opinion, highest value player on the board. Mel Kiper style. We're taking him. Francis Washington. We need strikers. He's a striker. And what's this? We got an offer, I think. Transfer offer. Francis Washington. Seattle Sounders. Oh, he came from the Sounders under 23 league. Minnesota wants to trade. They're interested in the rights to Francis Washington. See, this is what I'm talking about. Value, right? So all of a sudden, people want to trade me resources for this dude. But the computer is not good. This needs some work. Okay, so I just picked this guy, 3rd overall, and they want to trade me next year's first-round pick for him and $425,000. No, that's not how it would work in the real world. So we're going to decline that. You sure you want to withdraw from all active trades? Yes. Get out of here. All right. Back to the draft. So this kind of thing, it can take a while. It can be a little complicated, especially when you have 9 picks. But I'm going to try to get through it a little quicker. So, our next pick, we're already up on the clock, as they say. So next up, we got Washington. I was looking at Cole, Rodriguez, Johnson are my next 3 top picks here. Let's see, another thing you can do. Where is the button? There is a button somewhere around here that lets you customize this look to get rid of players who've been picked. No, that's not it. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Custom? No. I don't remember where it is. Draft. Anyway, somewhere around here there is a button that says get rid of picked players. Because I'd want to pick up Kyle Morris, but as you can see, it's got a little green draft button there. So we won't pick him up. We won't pick up Ramirez, obviously, because he's drafted. So I think it's down to Cole or Johnson, and really we need a central defender. Our reserve central defenders aren't that great. But one of the problems of picking up these guys early in the draft is they're going to want to start. They're going to want to play. So I'm going to have to worry about this guy. Is he going to play for us? Is he good enough to play right away? I think he might be. But, we're going to have to try to keep him happy. So he's a central defender. He has 8 pros, 2 cons. Strength and fitness level contribute to low athleticism for this player, but he's professional. He works well with the team. Natural at a couple of positions. He's in good form, good in the air. And he has a ton of potential. So I think that's who we're going for. And again, he's another Generation Adidas player. We're going for him. Drafting Alex Johnson. Okay. So you can do it 2 ways. You can either skip pick to pick to pick, or you can just hit this button to skip to your next pick. And I think that's what I'll do. So there we go. Now we've had quite a few players picked after that. Let's see. Let's scroll up to the top here. There we go. That's better. Now, got a lot of Steve Perry is still there. Another central defender. He's only 21 years old. I probably should have picked him instead. 14 strength. He's a little bit better prospect right now. 15 heading, 12 strength, or 12 marking. 6'2". He's got more of the stats that I like. But do I draft 2 central defenders? He's also only 21 years old. Who else do I have on my list? Cole is on the list. Morelli, a defensive midfielder. Because remember, I've got 4 first-round picks. So coming up next, I've got 12 and 15. So I've got to decide in these next 2 picks. I need a defensive midfielder. I don't necessarily need another central defender, although it wouldn't hurt. And there are a lot of good central defenders available. Here's Cruz. He's on my list, a little lower on my list, but he is on the list. 20 determination. Look at this guy. So I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit, I guess. And let's look at the age of these players. There's Washington. Ortega's another guy on my list. 14 pace, 13 strength. So many guys to choose from. This is a really good draft class, I have to admit. Very, very outstanding draft class. But again, we have these guys available. Rodriguez is available. Cole as well. A right back with 16 pace, 17 determination, 18 teamwork. I mean, it's so hard to pass up a guy like this. His jumping reach is only 10, but that's good enough for a 6-foot-tall guy. He's not Generation Adidas, so it means I gotta have him on my roster. But do I pass up that pure potential for need? I don't think so. Not in the first round. So I'm going to go with Cole. You know, he's got world-class potential. 4.5 stars. That's in terms of the MLS, that's as world-class as it gets. So we're gonna draft him, taking him. All right, let's skip to our next pick. Skip to Malou. Let's see who's still available. So Morel has been drafted. So, all right, they've drafted a lot of the top players now. Johnson. Middlesworth is a guy who's on my radar because he can play midfielder or advanced midfielder. He's injured right now. A lot of time injured guys drop. So I'm going to see if he'll drop to the second round. So I think at this pick, I might go for need. I might go for defensive midfielder. We've got Kitchen is on my list, but I haven't scouted him very well. So the other defensive midfielder on my list is Morelli. Now the question is, where is Morelli on this list? Not seeing him here. Take a look, sort by potential. Kitchen. So it can be a little hard to find these guys. There he is. Ricardo Morelli. Now the thing is, I've scouted this guy fully. He's not the greatest. I can probably pick him up second round. So I don't think I need to worry about him. Sort by ability, let's see. I might have to go for Kitchen. There's another striker, Tyler Hogg, 22 years old. I haven't scouted him much either. There's a central midfielder, Thompson, he's on my list as well, but I haven't scouted him much. So, you know, there's only so many scouts to go around, and you got to pick wisely who you scout. What do I know about Kitchen? I know not a lot. Tackling is very good. Passing is good. Strength, not great. He's only 5'7". His pace could be too low for what I want. He does have nice corners, so we could add that little bit of attribute to our team. Let's take a look at age. Nick Moore, the 18-year-old, see, he was drafted. I mean, look at that. He's injured. He's not very good, but he was already drafted pretty high. See, Washington. See, Devin Cook. He's an interesting player. All right, I need to make a decision on this. I can't just sit here and hem and haw for 20 years. This video is going to be a million years, but this is, you know, this is what the Super Draft is all about. It's about, you know, deciding the future of your team, so you can't take it too lightly. So was there another high? Yeah, Rodriguez. Rodriguez is still there. He can play left or center. Man, I'm going to go for Rodriguez again. Best player. I'm going to take the best players. First round, take the best players. All right, so now our next pick is 29th overall, so we'll skip to that. All right, now I got to take a defensive midfielder. There's just no doubt about that. If Kitchen's still available, I guess we'll take Kitchen. Or do I trust the guy I've scouted more? Because Kitchen is 2.5 stars with 3.5 star potential. Scrolling through the list looking for the defensive midfielder here. Morelli is 2-star with 3.5 star potential. But I know this guy in and out. I know everything about this guy. I scouted him 100%. I know he's only got 9 pace, but that's okay. He's aggressive. He's got positioning. But again, thinking about the draft, I could get this guy probably later. But you know what? I've got a lot of draft picks, so I'm going to secure Morelli and just draft him. It's probably not going to be a popular pick, but that's okay. All right. So who have I scouted? Who's left? Let's skip to my next pick. These are the wanted players here. Russell Donovan is still available. 15 pace, 13 finishing. See, now it's just a matter of what do I need? You know, I don't need much. You know, I got the central defenders. I got the defensive midfielder. There's not a lot of goalkeepers left in this draft that I like. There's a couple, but I can get them later. I still have 4 more picks in this draft. Let's see. Donovan's 21 years old. Now I could search for players up here. Search for why can't I search on position? That would be the best thing to do. Attributes, club, general, right? It should be under general. Nope. Personality, place of birth. They don't make it easy. All right, let's search for scouted. Who have I scouted? And who's left? Middlesworth is left. He's injured. He's got great physicals. He's only injured for a little while. I do need a central midfielder, and this guy fits the bill. But he is 22 years old. A lot of these other guys are all drafted. Cruz. I don't need another central defender. I can't do that. Ortega's a guy I looked at. 14 pace. You know, only 10 finishing though. I've already drafted a couple of strikers, so I don't really need him. Kim, not that good. Do I want to draft a 22-year-old? I don't know. I could Morelli. No, Morelli's drafted. Did I draft Morelli? See, you get to this point, you got to remember stuff like this. Or you can look at the draft information and see who I picked. Striker, defensive midfielder. So I do need central midfield. I could use another striker. Ortega's still there. He's got 4-star potential. He's got that pace heading. I'll take Ortega. Why not? Let's go try to get this moving. Skip to our next pick. All right. So 1, 2. You've picked 6 players. So we have three picks left. Still lots of good players available. I really wish I could find that button that said hide drafted players, but drafted. Aha, drafted is no. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. All right, so who's left? Another defender, Perry. He's pretty good, but I don't know if I need to draft 3 central defenders in one draft. He's only 21 years old. Cruz also is available, but I don't like that. All right, so let's get rid of Scouted. Let's get rid of Scouted. See who's left. Who's at the top of the ability list here? Kitchen is still there. Another defensive midfielder. Another striker here. Donovan is available. More 15 pace, 13 finishing. He's an interesting player. Only 21 years old, so that's good. It's not a good draft for central midfielders, but in all honesty, that's not the worst thing in the world because we have all those guys in our academy who are central midfielders. So this is fine. Jason Cannon. Corners, free kick taking, pace, attacking midfielder. We do need attacking midfielders, although I did just... No, I didn't draft one. I drafted a striker. So you know what? We're going to go with Cannon. He's 22 years old. That's a little older than what I want. But it looks like the injured guy got drafted. So we shall draft Cannon. If Kitchen's still there this round, I'll take Kitchen. There he is. He's still available. So I'll take Kitchen as well, even though he's 22 years old. But sometimes you just fill needs, especially once you get later in the draft. So I got one more. Whoops. I hit C next pick. Okay, that's good. So skip to your next pick. There we go. Now I can look and see if Kitchen is available. He's still available. Okay, so we'll draft Kitchen. That's something you don't want to do. You don't want to be skipping your picks because you don't get those picks back. And then we'll skip to our final pick here. Let's see who's available potential-wise. Steve Perry is still there. 6'2", 14 strength, 16 fitness. He might be the best player. There's Donovan is still available. I've already drafted 2 strikers. I've already drafted 2 defensive midfielders, a bunch of defenders. You know, at this point, I don't need a lot. Perry is only 21. Scouted him. I know him. He's a good guy. He's a friend of mine. He's got 4-star potential. He's the best player left by far. So we're going to draft him. Don't need him, but we're going to draft him. Now, most drafts, you're not going to have this many picks. You're not going to have to worry about it taking this long and going through the whole draft like I did. You know, a lot of times you'll only have 4 picks. That's what you start each year with, 4 picks. You can trade those away if you don't want to go through this and get resources for them. But, yeah. So now that we've drafted all of our 9 players, we can complete the draft, skip to the end of the draft, and then you go through signing these guys. Major League Soccer Super Draft takes place. Okay, that's good. So we can offer a contract to Cole. He wants first team. See, that's the thing about drafting these guys. Cole wants to be first team. Let's see if he'll settle for rotation. Okay. Delighted with that. Well, maybe. All right. Try to give him a 5-year contract. Probably won't go for that. Try to give him 130K. Let's suggest these terms. All right. He feels those are acceptable. There we go. All right. Then Morelli. I don't think we need to give him quite as lucrative a contract. Try to give him a backup contract, hot prospect. 4 years. Let's try 65K. Yep. All right. This has changed a little bit because previous years, rookies had pretty much a set price. But now there's a little more negotiation that goes on. So here's Ortega. Now he's a 2nd round pick, so there's a little less wiggle room for him. He's got 65K, a senior minimum salary. All right. Fine, we'll pick you. You're good. Cannon. You know, because we had so many 1st round picks, these guys, think they can negotiate here, so this is fine. 4 years, 65K. All right, so far these negotiations are going very smooth. Here's Kitchen. He's a senior minimum salary guy, so there you go. You can only have 8 senior minimum salary guys, so you got to watch this. And then here's Steve Perry, one of the hot prospects. Reserve type, 2 years. Fine, 55K for a reserve contract. There we go. So that was all pretty easy. And there we go. We now have a very full roster. We're overflowing with players. And we'll talk about sending these guys out on loan and sending them to our affiliates and all that stuff. We'll do that next episode. This one's been long enough. So we'll see you for the first game of the season, or at least maybe if there's an interesting, friendly. Maybe we'll do that. No, we also have Champions League. So we got lots of weird stuff coming up at the beginning of the season. So we'll check that out in the next episode. See you later. Bye.